My name is Tom, and this is a story I never imagined I'd have to tell. It's one of the most painful experiences of my life. It began with a feeling I didn't want to face, one I tried to push aside, but no matter how hard I tried, it refused to disappear. Sarah, my wife of 9 years, and I had built what seemed like a perfect life. 2 kids, Ethan, our 6-year-old son, and Lily, our 4-year-old daughter. A home we loved, stable jobs, the kind of life others would envy. Before I go any further, please subscribe. It truly helps us share more real-life stories like this. Somewhere along the way, things began to shift. At first, the changes were subtle, almost imperceptible. Sarah started staying late at work more often. When I asked, she'd say, "Just finishing up at the office," or "There was a meeting I had to attend." At first, I didn't think much of it, but over the weeks, these late nights became increasingly frequent. I tried to be understanding. Work can be demanding after all. Then came the small things that didn't make sense. Her phone was always face down on the table, always locked. Calls and texts would happen behind closed doors. I tried to dismiss it, telling myself I was imagining things, just tired and stressed. But deep down, I knew something was off. We weren't connecting anymore. Affection had disappeared. Warmth had vanished from our conversations. She grew distant, and I grew frustrated. I thought, what happened to the woman I married? The woman who used to laugh with me, share everything with me? The intimacy that had once been the heartbeat of our marriage was gone, and the space between us was widening. One night, after yet another late return, Sarah came home close to midnight. She looked exhausted, but there was something different, a hesitation in her step, a reluctance to meet my gaze. I decided then that I needed to know the truth. I couldn't live in this haze of uncertainty any longer. I did something I never thought I would. Something I still can't believe I did. I set up a hidden camera in our living room. I told myself it would only be for a few days, just a small window into what was happening when I wasn't there. I needed to know if my suspicions were real. Was Sarah genuinely tired from work? Or was there something more? I didn't want to believe it, but part of me already did. The next day, after she left for work, I reviewed the footage. My heart raced as the screen flickered to life. At first, it was just Sarah walking in as usual. Then, a man stepped in behind her, tall, dark-haired, in a black jacket and jeans. I didn't recognize him. Who was he, and why was he here? My chest tightened as I watched them interact. It wasn't casual. They kissed. Not a brief, friendly kiss, but a deep, passionate one. The kind of kiss shared between people in love. I couldn't breathe. I paused the video, letting it sink in. My wife, the woman I trusted completely, was kissing another man. My hand shook as I replayed the footage over and over. Sarah was having an affair, and it wasn't a one-time mistake. This had been going on. They sat together, talking, laughing, sharing wine. The way they touched, the way Sarah smiled at him, it wasn't fleeting. This wasn't a fling. This was love. My world felt like it was collapsing. How long had this been happening? How had I missed it? The pain deepened when the kids entered the scene. Ethan and Lily ran down the stairs to greet Sarah, and the stranger, who was now sitting on our couch. Ethan, without hesitation, ran straight to him, calling him Uncle Chris. Lily laughed and hugged him too. Uncle Chris. I froze. My 6-year-old son, the boy I raised, was already calling this man family. I'd always been there for them, helping with homework, taking them to the park, tucking them into bed. And now this man, who had no rightful place in our lives, was stepping into the role I had always held. Tears filled my eyes. How long had this been going on? How many times had Sarah introduced him as just a friend? My children were innocent, oblivious to betrayal happening right in front of them. That night, when Sarah came home, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I confronted her, not with anger, not with shouting. I simply showed her the footage. Watching her face as she realized what I discovered is something I'll never forget. Shock, guilt, shame. She didn't deny it or make excuses. She broke down and confessed. Chris was someone she met at work. What began as friendship had turned into something deeper. She hadn't planned for it to happen, but over time, she had fallen in love with him. She said I had become emotionally distant, that she felt lonely, that she needed someone to make her feel special again. And I had been so wrapped up in my work and my own life, I hadn't even noticed. It hurt, more than words can describe. She blamed me, saying I didn't pay attention, that I didn't notice when she was slipping away. But the truth? I had been there, trying to make it work. I didn't know she was already gone. I felt hollow. How could I trust her again? How could I look at her the same way? She had let this man into our home, our lives, our children's hearts. The damage couldn't be undone. Even when she promised to stop seeing him, I couldn't believe her. Not anymore. The hardest part was telling Ethan and Lily. I didn't want them to carry this burden, but they already sensed something was wrong. They saw the pain in my eyes. I promised them I would always be their father, always be there for them. But I had no idea what our family would look like moving forward. I filed for divorce the next day. I couldn't stay in a marriage built on lies. I couldn't live in a house that reminded me at every turn of betrayal. It wasn't just about Sarah and Chris. It was about protecting my children. They couldn't grow up in a home where trust had been shattered beyond repair. As painful as it was, I knew it was the right choice. Sarah begged for forgiveness, swore she would do anything to fix it, but the hurt she caused couldn't be erased. My kids would have to adjust just as I would, but I promised myself one thing. No matter how hard it got, I would never let them feel unloved. I would be their constant, their rock. Setting up that camera was terrifying. But what I discovered wasn't just an affair. It was the unraveling of a family, the collapse of everything I thought I knew. Yet even in the pain, I learned something crucial. The truth is always the hardest thing to face, but it's the only way forward. Now, I'm learning to rebuild, to heal, not just for me, but for Ethan and Lily. They deserve a life filled with love and stability, more than I could give them before. We will move forward, and together, we will find a way to be whole again.